Hey, the Bloodiest Matches video did well, because of course it did, you grotty little subhumans. So let's talk hardcore. The ludicrously stipulated deathmatch style of wrestling has been around for decades in Texas death matches, concession stand brawls, Japanese death matches, and in ECW before being popularized by WWE and WCW. Revolving as it does around shock value, the style has been home to a host of ludicrous stipulations and nonsense matches. Here are some of the strangest. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are the 10 most bizarre hardcore matches in wrestling history. Number 10, hardcore evening gown match. So let's start with two old men dressed as women and battering the piss out of each other, like RuPaul's Drag Race, Glasgow edition. Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe were two supremely successful wrestlers back in the 70s and 80s, but known by casual fans for portraying Vince McMahon's bumbling stooges. At King of the Ring 2000, both men had been comedically feuding over the hardcore title, pinning each other while sleeping and dressing as women to hide in women's locker rooms. The latter was the cause for this surreal disgrace of a match, as two legends kicked their legacies to death in a woeful 3 minutes of wig pulling and granny panties. Number 9, the Gulf of Mexico match. One of the few actually memorable moments of WWE's reboot of ECW, and not necessarily in a good way. In 2008, CM Punk was feuding with Chavo Guerrero over the ECW Championship, and before their title clash at No Way Out, they were pitted against each other in the first, and only, Gulf of Mexico match. The arena they were wrestling in was situated across the road from the titular Gulf, and the only way to win the match, throw your opponent into the body of water. Otherwise, anything goes. This was a very silly thing, and considering how dirty the water likely was, probably the most actually dangerous match on this list. Number 8, the Dungeon match. Now, this is not what you think it is. You're thinking of the Dungeon of Doom, and it's not that. It's really not, but it is still quite weird. Stu Hart's dungeon was essentially a basement, but it served as a wrestling school for some of the best technicians in the business, including Bret Hart, Owen Hart, British Bulldog, Edge, Christian, Natalia, Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, Lance Storm, Tyson Kidd. However, for one night only, it was also the setting of a match between Owen Hart and Ken Shamrock. It was a brawl where both men battered each other's heads off the walls and the hard floor and clobbered one another with dumbbells. We've seen matches set in boiler rooms, fake bars, and now, most deadly of them all, Canadian basements. Number 7, the Punjabi prison match. Oh, this was just rubbish. When the Great Khali debuted in WWE, he was pushed to the damn moon because he was big. At one point, he got wins over Kane and The Undertaker. Look, here he is pinning The Undertaker with his foot. It's awful. So they wanted to give the giant man his own signature match in his feud with The Undertaker, and that was the Punjabi prison match. The Punjabi prison was built of sharpened bamboo, and to be honest, it looks like it should be a cool match. I mean, look at the thing. But the rules were ludicrously complicated, involving multiple cages to escape, and doors are only open for certain amounts of time, and then they close, and then you had to choose a different door. It was rubbish, and worst of all, the Great Khali, the innovator of the match, didn't even feature in it. He wasn't medically cleared, apparently, and was replaced at the last minute with the Big Show, of all people. Number 6, the Judy Bagwell on a forklift match. Vince Russo, step right up! If you've read about wrestling on the internet, you've encountered Vince Russo, and if some corners of the IWC are to be believed, he's the worst thing to have ever happened to wrestling, crippling the industry with convoluted, nonsensical storylightings, lowest common denominator smut, and stipulations that are ridiculous on a pole. Whether you see him as genius or Hitler, there's no denying that the Judy Bagwell on a forklift match was the pits. Buff Bagwell was feuding with Chris Positively Canyon in WCW in 2000, and as part of the storyline, Canyon was stalking and then eventually kidnapped Bagger's mum. Sure, he kidnapped her, and to get her back, Buff would have to beat him in a Judy Bagwell on a forklift match. First of all, what? Second of all, shut up. Who better than Canyon? Nobody. What's worse than a match being watched over by a middle-aged lady on a forklift? Nothing. Number 5, the King of the Road match. We're sticking with WCW and more ludicrous tosh from Ted Turner's House of Wrestling. The King of the Road match took place at the Uncensored pay-per-view in 1995. The Blacktop Bully fought Dustin Rhodes in the back of a trailer being driven by an 18-wheeler. On the trailer was a cage full of hay, and the two men hit each other with pig troughs because why not? You won the match by climbing to the top of the cage and sounding the truck's horn. Fun fact, not only was it a bizarre, awkward dud of a match, but WCW also had a strict no bleeding policy at the time, and after both men bladed, they were both summarily dismissed from the company. Hardcore. Number 4, the Alligator Death Match. Across the water to Japan, now flagship nation of crazy death matches, in Big Japan Pro Wrestling, Mitsuhiro Matsunaga fought Shadow WX in an alligator death match. The stipulation was the loser of the death match had to then fight an alligator. Nice work, Japan. Not only was the main match utter carnage, featuring barbed wire boards, barbed wire baseball bats, beds of nails, dumb, Matsunaga lost, and he had to fight a small and presumably scared alligator. There was no tussling, just a Japanese man limply prodding an alligator with his foot, and an alligator who just wanted out of the ring because he was the smartest thing in the building. Number 3, the Chambers of Horrors match. WCW, my old friend, good to see you. The Chamber of Horrors match was exactly that, an absolute horror show. At Halloween Havoc 1991, they built a gigantic Hell in a Cell-like thing with caskets and stuff. Oh, and an electric chair that was lowered into the middle of the ring. It was a 5-on-5 tag match, and the match could only be won by someone being strapped into the electric chair and have someone flip a switch and electrocute them. Yep, a match where, in kayfabe, the loser was killed. Rest in peace, Abdullah the Butcher. It was a star-studded match featuring Sting, the Steiners, Cactus Jack, Big Van Vader, and an entire audience of people who thought they'd just seen a murder. Or a crap wrestling match. Or both. Number 2, the no-rope electrified barbed wire swimming pool dynamite double hell death match. Back to Japan and the longest official stipulation in recorded history. It was put on by Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, and let's break it down. So the ring is on an island in this gigantic pool of water, stay with us, and in addition to the electrified barbed wire surrounding half of the ring, stay with us, the water surrounding the ring was laced with explosives, and if you fell into the water exploded. Right. Also, the wrestlers had to be transported to the ring in a dinghy. Mike Awesome was in this match. I don't really have much more to say. And number 1, the Kennel from Hell match. If you thought this wasn't going to be on the list, then you're fired. I don't care what job you do, you're fired. So the big boss man killed Al Snow's dog Pepper and fed it to him. Cool, all on board so far? To get revenge, Snow challenged him to a Kennel from Hell match at Unforgiven 1999. He took a steel cage, put it inside a Hell in a Cell with a pack of vicious dogs surrounding the ring. That sounds great. Of course, the dogs didn't play ball, preferring to sit around, copulate with each other, or crap on the floor rather than look in any way menacing. It was a piece of dog shit from beginning to end, and possibly the worst hardcore match ever created. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.